had a student visa, so they were letting me go, but I could only bring like 50 pounds of clothes, you know, and the thing that I didn't know when I was going to see my parents again was very difficult. So when I was crying the whole time that I was in that fishbowl until I arrived to Miami. I was crying the whole time in the plane, and then when I got to the airport, they picked me up and they took me to a camp. And there were other kids there and they all were crying. So it was a very emotional time because everybody was sad because we didn't know what the future was. So I was lucky that I had an aunt here in Miami, and she took me in. My aunt took me in, and she already had her husband, her daughter, her daughter's husband, her niece, with her husband and another. So the house was really overcrowded, but they still they said, we don't know where they're going to send you, because at the time there were no more scholarships. So I either was going to have to go to a foster home or to an orphanage, and I was lucky that my family said, no, we will take you in. But while I was in this situation here, my father was in jail. They took him because he was coming from an embassy, because he was trying to help one of the underground freedom fighters. He was trying to get them in the embassy because that was the only way he could get out of Cuba. So my father was coming out of the embassy and they caught him, and my mother didn't know where he was for about a week, and he was interrogated day and night. And finally the ambassador from this embassy went and talked and said, no, this is a friend of mine, you have to let him go. So he was let free. And since my father was helping the CIA, they got him a visa to get out of the country. So 40 days after I arrived, my family came out. And I was very fortunate because we were able to be together, and the American government, they gave us $100 a month to live. And so there were hardships. We lived in a garage turned into an apartment, and I didn't know much English, just what I have learned in school. So I went to the Lindsay Hopkins at night, and my father got a job riding a tractor in the Everglades. So he had to travel like 3 hours both ways. So he had to leave early in the morning, and my mother found a job as a maid in Miami Beach. So it was very hard, and I tried to find different jobs, but I tried in a candy store. Where you would where you would pack the chocolate candies in the paper like Lucy did, but I didn't make it. I was very happy to have this job, but I didn't make it. I was supposed to make so many, and I was short of making what was supposed. So, and I found different jobs, and since I didn't know enough English, I was let go, but finally I found a job as a bookkeeper, and I was able to, since I didn't have to speak much, I was able to work with numbers and get ahead in life. Any more questions?
So, you're now in America, you're holding down jobs, your mother and father are holding down jobs. At any point in time, did you have a thought of going to school, education, really?
Yes, I was going to the Lindsay Hopkins was like a vocational school. So I was working, and I was going to school at night, and I was learning English, I was learning typing. What I was learning is a job that could get me to make money so I could help my parents, because my parents my father didn't have a steady job, my mother didn't. She also went to the factories, as a seamstress. She worked there. So I got a good job at this furniture company, and I worked there as a bookkeeper until I met my husband, like 3 or 4 years later. And we got married, and we moved to New Orleans, and we raised a family there.
Very nice. And so you said you moved to New Orleans.
Right.
And how was it there? Was it a big change from being in Miami?
Well, it was a change because Miami, there were a lot of Cubans, and they were starting to relocate the Cubans to New Orleans. And the weather was different, it was colder there, but we tried to make the best of everything. And I think the lesson we learned is that you have to be positive. At the beginning, we were always thinking about going back to Cuba, but after the missile crisis, we knew that was not going to be possible. So my parents had a harder time because they were in their 50s. My father didn't speak English. He was a lawyer, but he got a job in New Orleans, relocating the Cubans to New Orleans, and he was helping them through the Catholic Church. He was helping them get jobs and apartments, and he was helping relocate them to New Orleans. So my mother found a job as a seamstress, and I was working in a shipping company as a shipping clerk or something like that. Okay.
So currently, are you employed, retired?
I'm retired. I moved to Miami 3 years ago, and the reason I came to Miami was because we wanted to be close to my family. My husband's family, they live here, and I have a son that lives here, and we wanted to be closer to the Cuban community also. And I love the beach, so this was an attractive place for me to be.
Indeed. So, how many children do you have?
I have 2 children, and I have a daughter that is 38 and a son that is 39. They're both married. They have 4 grandchildren, and my daughter is an industrial psychologist, and my son he has a business degree, and he's a national sales manager of a Chilean company that brings salmon from Chile. And my husband used to be an engineer, and now he's working again. He had to come out of his retirement, and he has a position of erection manager of a plant that they're building in Fort Pierce.
Well, not to go back to what was said on before, I noticed you got a little emotional, but what were your thoughts as you were transported from your